Call the February 4th City Council meeting order. Commissioner Smith, will you give us the prayer pledge and fact of the day, please, sir?
Our Father, our God, the creator of every good and perfect gift, the giver of all mankind, we come once again to say thank you for the many blessings bestowed upon us. Thank you, Father, for this opportunity for us to serve as servants of your city. We ask them, Father, you bless all those that are present here today, and that all that we shall say and do be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. In thy Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fact of the day. On February the 4th, 1789, George Washington, the commander of the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War, unanimously was elected the first president of the United States by all 69 presidential electors who cast their votes. John Adams of Massachusetts was elected as vice president. The electors represented 10 of the 11 states that ratified the U.S. Constitution were chosen by popular vote, legislative appointment, or a combination of both 4 weeks before the election. The fact of the day.
All right. Welcome to the public meeting of the City Council of the City of Apopka. Please turn off all cell phones or set them to silent. The City Council permits and encourages input and comments by members of the public on all matters which may come before the council for action. If you wish to address the council this afternoon, please make sure you have filled out a card with your contact information and have presented it to the clerk. When called upon, please proceed to the podium and speak clearly into the microphone, stating your name, address of record, organization, if any, and direct your comments to the City Council and not to individual commissioners, staff, or members of the public. The council and the city staff encourages constructive criticism. However, personal attacks are prohibited. Please observe general rules of decorum and civility. Speakers and members of the audience shall refrain from rude or derogatory remarks, shouting, disruptions, reflections as to integrity, slander, abusive comments, profanity, vulgarities, and statements as to personalities. Any violations of these provisions may result in the issuance of a verbal warning, including warning for trespass. If violations persist after such warning, violators may be removed from the council chambers. Okay, public comment. Susan?
Okay, is it Pansy? Okay. Hi. Y'all had a busy night last night, some of you. I have some concerns about the implementation of safety and health issues in the city. We've had a struggle with getting warming centers opened and getting them open in the public purview. We have empty buildings that are air conditioned and heated. They have working HVAC systems, they have kitchens, and they have bathrooms in them. And putting on the onus and the liability on private churches to do it, especially when they're small and hold very few people, is unconscionable. We have a $30 million reserve that can help pay for the food, but can also take on, we have insurance. And there's no reason why, and our volunteers are very glad to help cook and come in and serve or be there. But there's no reason why a city employee cannot open up these doors, unlock them, and let the people serve the people. We have citizens who have had bursted pipes that can't be in their homes and needed an emergency place to go. We have citizens who don't have electricity. We have people who don't have their heaters or air conditioning working at regular times because of problems. They need a place to go. And what I recommend is that we get an emergency services division, an ad hoc one that doesn't have to take staffing all year round, and that emergency services response team be under the purview of both chiefs, and that they can direct and advise it and then have that team pull together in a minute's notice when we know that there's going to be a need for their services to coordinate and work with the community people like Hope and myself and other community service people like Matthew's Hope. But we shouldn't have to have people find their way to Pine Hills and Winter Garden to get help, because that's why a lot of them stay here, is because they don't want to have to or can't get to Winter Garden or Pine Hills, and they shouldn't have to. And when you have a facility that only holds 30 people, people are not wanting to be crowded, especially in this time of severe illness where people are dying of pneumonia and dying of the flu. And I have a friend that's well known here, whose mother died and was buried this week from the pneumonia. We need to think about our citizens, all of our citizens. And this is not just applying to the homeless. Thank you. Rod Olson.
And before I start, can I request that we run to 6 minutes and 9 seconds? That's that time you allowed a non-citizen to go uninterrupted at the last meeting on the 21st, supporting one of your proposals that popped up regarding legal services. 6 minutes and 9 seconds uninterrupted, and you cut us off at 3. It's not fair. Can I have 6:09? And not only me, for all of the people that come up here.
Everybody gets 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. 24th, Spasmodic Saturday Night Sounds was wonderful. I'm talking the slide up here is employee pension plans. My numbers were questioned at the last meeting. The $21.7 million, in fact, was the number at September 30th of 2023's audit. When you look at the audit for 2024, the most recent one, you'll see what I see up here. General is unfunded by $7.7 million, although it's 90.45% funded. Police is funded at 80.52, yet is $10.10 million underfunded. Fire 85.1 and is $11.83 million underfunded, totaling $29.63 million. Your $30 million reserves is gone just covering the pensions. What concerns me is even goes a little bit further, the fact that we have the I'll get it out. The company that oversees this thing has 276 people currently receiving a pension. They made a mistake on 106. That's 38.4% error rate, which means the number they projected for the budget impact of $430,000 could be anywhere between $165,000 and $595,000. If the city is not already looking at a new pension manager, they need to be looking at it now. There's no reason for the taxpayers to incur an additional $5,000 per event in that the city has general and professional liability. There's no excuse for that. On January 21st, you reported that the first quarter finances were 36% off budget, projected 31% off for the rest of the year. How can you operate that way? Every department head, and you sat up there and put this budget before us and said, oh, this is it. This is what we need. Wrong. It's not working. 99% of all expenditures should be budgeted. If there's emergencies, that's what the reserves are for. We demand an accurate budget this coming year. With regard to the street and park naming, we don't have enough streets and parks to go around for all the veterans that have lost their lives serving our country. Maybe we should be looking at park benches. Maybe we should be looking at some kind of bricks, a brick with the name of them on. We don't have enough streets and parks to do that. Everyone out there complains to your neighbors about what problems we have. How come it's not working? You complain to the DS. You need to stop. You need to start emailing. You need to start calling. You need to get your butts up here and address it. That's the only way it gets done. Please vote.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sylvester Hall, Rock Springs Ridge. Um, Over the last 5 years, when you hear a resident like Mr. Olson come up here and it falls on deaf ears, even though he's complimented many other times for his approach, but nothing, never, no solutions, no action. He's mild mannered, he's well spoken, but it still falls on deaf ears. So when the ones that come up here frustrated and try another approach, it falls on deaf ears. So after watching the mayoral debate last night at Apopka High School, you will understand, and young folks that are in here now, I hope you're listening to me. We need your critical thinking. We need your input. We need your involvement to get involved. That's why you constantly hear me say the city of Apopka, the state of Florida, and our country is in a national crisis because too many good people sitting by watching bad things happen and not doing anything, being completely silent and sometimes complicit. To all my young people, when we normalize the abnormal, it desensitizes the truth to the point the truth doesn't matter anymore. And that's sad. I'll watch the debate, and if you have been at the city council meeting, you know the answers before the candidates even open their mouth. I heard the mayor mention a couple times he was in support of having an audit, but yet and still we tried to have one and it was killed on the floor. So many lies. Then I look, and when I hear an exchange that practically says ethics don't matter, rules don't matter, and so when you constantly hear me preach about my moral values, there's only one candidate in the mayoral race who have dictated, who have understood and lived and practiced these things. The truth matters. Laws matter. Morals matter. Ethics matter. Leadership matters. Character matters. Integrity matters. Principles matter. Rules matter. Facts matter. Procedures matters. And all God's people matters. That candidate is Mr. Nick Nestor. That's why he have my 125% confident to be our next city mayor. If you go back and you start watching from 2021, that's the year I consecutively started going to city council meetings. That's 5 years ago. And the only reason I decided not to run for mayor is because if you go back and watch 2021, the first January, I stood here and said, my goal is to bring love and prosperity to all poverty-stricken
Thank you.
neighborhoods, starting with South Apopka. And
Thank
that's
you.
my
Thank
mission. Thank you. It wasn't 602, Mayor, to Rod's point. We see how you are, and that's why you need to be relieved from your duties.
Leroy Bell, Mard Helen. First of all, I would like to thank Challenge 2 and the Apopka Chief for the pep rally last night. Secondly, I'm like Sylvester. I heard a few things I didn't know until the mayor told us at the debate last night that a couple of the houses out of the CRA this grant that we were doing, they wasn't houses, they were sheds. He said that we were redoing sheds. But we'll take care of that a little later. Binion Road, is Binion Road a part of the city or the county?
It's a city now, right?
Okay, because what I wanted to know, because we got the code enforcement truck 1699 picking up next assignment. So if we can tell him, we know campaign signs supposed to be out off limits, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's just Brian Nelson signs is not off limits. I just want to get that straight. It shouldn't be that way. And since we got $31 million, I also heard the mayor speak about one of his great accomplishments last night. And I think that's Fire Station 6, right? Over on Herman Road. 6. So we got $31 million in reserves. I travel that road just about every day taking my son to college. It's almost been several accidents out there. You're bragging about this fire station out there, and you got $31 million in the bank, and you got an accident waiting to happen for somebody come down through there when these guys are trying to get out and save lives, and you don't have an emergency signal across there. But then you get up and brag about this is one of your pet peeves. This is something that you accomplished. It makes no sense. And I hope everybody watched the pelt rally last night, because South Apopka, it was a you had everybody in South Apopka up there that couldn't vote. You and Christine Moore, they can't vote in this election. So I would hope that everybody would take heed and, like they said, look way to the east. Nick Nestor, thank you, man, for the integrity, and thank you for the truth, because there was so many lies told last night.
Okay, Sam, did you plan on speaking at public comment, or do you have something on the agenda?
Public comment.
Okay, come on.
Sam Ruth, 75 West Magnolia Street, Apopka, Florida. I've pretty much lived there my entire life, but I did go to the rally last night. I wanted to commend the two that are here. It was a good rally. It was a good substantive debate. But I had one question that actually went back to the current administration when there was a comment that was made about the reserve of the previous administration. And what I was trying to get clarity on is the remark said that the reserve was down, the general fund was down to $3.6 million. Was that general?
It was general, he said.
All right, because when when I left office, it was 10 years ago. That reserve was at or above 20% of our general budget. So I started doing some homework, and I went back to those dates that were in question. The way I read the budget, we were at $19.5 billion general fund, not 3.6. So what I was trying to do is, where was the 3.6 number come from? Because it alluded to the fact that the previous administration had done some actuary figuring that made the city look a lot less financially supported by the general. And I just wanted to make sure that the clarification, were we talking about general funds or were we talking about utility funds? Because every one of these have a bucket. Was it the utility reserve or was it the general reserve? It's important that we clarify that. Because what I don't want to do is make it a reflection of a previous administration when in fact they weren't there to defend themselves. And when they left, the general fund was at 20% or greater. So I don't know if I can get that by next council meeting, but if somebody would reach out to me and let me know where that number came from, I'd appreciate it.
I'll get that from
Thank you.
the finance department.
Anybody else?
Ooh.
Right. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Um, just want to first just commend and thank everyone for the shelters that we have provided with the city this past week. I had so many businesses and churches that reached out and gave me donations. Um, you know, um, I know we might not be where other people think we should be, with having a large facility, but I'm grateful for what we have. And so we had, I think the first night we probably had 15 to 20 people stay over. And then the next night we had 30, more than 30, because we had some people that did not have, they slept on the floor. They were grateful for just being on the floor. So I thank each one of you, uh, Nick Nesta, for the warming, the hats and the gloves and the warming packets that you gave us. I call them warming kits. That was very, I actually just drove around, passed them out, whoever I saw. I thank you, Commissioner Smith. You're always there whenever I ask for anything. And I'm grateful for that. I thank you, Mayor Nelson. You made the buildings available for us and uh, rounded everything up. So I appreciate that. Um, and to the rest of the commissioners, I know just you guys do everything you can to help me. And if I ever reach on you, but I had so much. I had food from restaurants. I had ribs from Fat Daddy and food from Just Like Mamas and just churches, large donations. Hope did their thing that they normally do on Sundays. Naughty Lobster was there. Just so many. I could go on and on. So many churches within the community that supported this effort. I know the weather is going to make a change and then it's going to go back again. So we'll probably have to look and see what we're going to do next. But where we are now is not where we're going to be in a few years from now. But I thank each one of you for everything that you have done today, up to today. And I'm very appreciative on behalf of the unhoused and the needy. I'm very appreciative, and they are also. So I appreciate you. And as we continue to do the work that I have been assigned to do, as an advocate for the unhoused, I ask you to continue to support me in this effort. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Dr. Jim Moyer. I'm elected Orange Soil and Water Conservation District 2 Supervisor. I come to these meetings and I'm hoping in the near future that Radley and Public Works and I will be able to get together. I want to learn of the priorities regarding land and water resource protection because I want my priorities to be your priorities to be my priorities. The other thing I wanted to share is about a survey that's taken place here in Apopka at UF um, Research Center on Binion Road. It is um, it is a survey dealing with stormwater pond um, experiment, they call it. I've actually taken the survey. So I know what it's all about. So I would encourage anybody in Apopka or if they live in Orange County, if you live in a HOA, if your HOA has a stormwater pond or lake, please consider taking 30 minutes of your time to take the survey. I'm presuming that these surveys, when they put it together, if they don't get enough participants, which at this point in time, when I took the survey, they need 100 more people. So please encourage people to take the survey. They pay you $30 for 30 minutes, and they told me 2 days to get paid, and I was paid in an hour. So, but the crux of the survey is this: they're laying out several scenarios, and they're trying to determine the importance of the participants, how they balance the reduction in the percentage of nitrogen in the stormwater pond versus also the number of homeowners whose flooding potential for flooding is reduced or increased, and the HOA fees. So they're adding in the dollar component too. So they're saying they're doing like 15 scenarios. You know, this is up, this is down. Which would you prefer? So again, I would encourage anyone here in Apopka or in Orange County to go over, schedule an appointment at Pinion Road and take the survey. Thank you for your time and God bless you all for everything you do.
Yeah, Dr. Moyer, just so you know, we have 99 private stormwater ponds, and so we've sent our whole list to IFAS, so they've got the list of all 99. Yep, you got it. Did it? Okay. All right. Approval of minutes. Any changes from either the public or from the dais? Not look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Bradley?
Mayor, we have one item. Staff would like to pull business item number 2, the assignment of overview, oversizing utility line and partial construction reimbursement agreement, to allow staff additional time to review this agreement with the finance department and city attorney's office. So we'd like to pull that off the agenda and bring it back. Okay, and then also just recognize we've got quite a crowd with us here today. The University of Central Florida School of Nursing is with us. They're doing a public health section of their coursework, so they're here visiting, learning about local government at the city level. So welcome. Go Knights. I'm a UCF alum, so charge on.
Stand
Go
up.
Knights.
We'll see everybody. Come on, stand up.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out. All right.
Go Knights. There we go.
Okay, we've got 5 consent agenda items. Does anybody from the public or from the dais need to pull any? If not, look to a motion to accept all 5 consent agenda items.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I did want to add one thing to the agenda and for you respectfully asked to have the agenda item either added at the end, and it's regarding a vote for the last resolution that we took at the last meeting. And I did send an email to our interim chief administrator, and I did get a response from the attorney, and basically,
So we want to do that now, Cliff? Do you want to let her make a motion to?
This is agenda review, so if you wanted to add this to agenda, this would be the time to consider that. Otherwise, as I mentioned, she can try to bring that up in her report and see if there's a second to reconsider or rescind.
Yeah.
Right.
Just want to do it on your report. Is that okay? Or do you
Okay.
want? Okay.
That's
All
fine.
right. Okay. So let's see here. Business item number one: Freshfield Farms, Apopka. Gene Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. This is a request to approve the Freshfields Farm Apopka Major Development Plan and Construction Site Plan. The project is located at 1819 Armando Borjas Jr. Way and proposes a 17,550 square foot specialty perishable food market on approximately 5.6 acres of vacant parcel. The site is a triangular parcel bounded by South Apopka Boulevard, Hiawassee Road, and Piedmont Highway Road, and Armando Borjas Jr. Way. Surrounding uses include residential subdivisions to the north, south, and west, with commercial and industrial uses to the east, including the Walmart grocery store. The location has long been anticipated for neighboring serving commercial development due to its roadway frontage and proximity to existing neighborhoods. The subject property is designated commercial on the future land use map and zoned CC Community Commercial. The proposed Freshfields Farm Specialty Food Market is consistent with both, excuse me, with both the future land use designation and zoning district. The use is permitted and aligns with the intent of providing neighborhood serving retail while transitioning between major roadways and adjacent residential areas. The slide represents the proposed major development plan construction site plan. The grocery building is centrally located on the site with parking arranged around the building and the stormwater facilities integrated into the site design. The layout reflects roadway buffer requirements, driveway spacing constraints, separation of customer and service circulation, and buffering along residential edges. The applicant is working with Duke Energy for their photometrics plan, which will include street lighting. Access is proposed as a right in, right out access points on Apopka Boulevard and Hiawassee Road, as well as full access proposed on Armando Borjas Jr. Way. The landscaping plan emphasizes a rural farm aesthetic consistent with the Fresh Fields brand. The plan includes a layered combination of shade trees, understory trees, shrubs, and ground covers. Enhanced buffering is provided along residential edges through perimeter landscaping, preservation of select existing trees, and wood fencing to reduce visual and operational impacts on adjacent neighborhoods. The DRC recommends approval of the Major Development Plan Construction Site Plan. At its meeting on January 13th, 2026, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this MDP CSP. The recommended motion is to approve the Freshfields Farm Apopka Major Development Plan Construction Site Plan, subject to the condition that the applicant continues their coordination with Duke Energy and submit a code-compliant photometrics plan. Staff is available for questions.
Any questions for Gene?
Two questions.
I just had a couple questions. I think this is a pretty unique product that we haven't seen recently, so I like that. A couple concerns that came up from the residents when they had their meeting, and just want to reiterate those and just make sure we're all on the same page there. One was making sure that truck traffic that was delivering and picking up whatever it may be is not spilling over into the
Armando Borjas.
correct, yes. And it's my understanding that the way that site's designed, it's not going to lead in that
Correct.
capacity.
Yes, sir. It is. It is enforced in on the site design. It's right in, right out only on Hiawassee and Apopka Boulevard, and it's intended to have truck turn. Their loading is actually kind of enforced um, to be their loading areas enforced where the right in, right out access points on Hiawassee and Apopka Boulevard, which are arterial roads, leads to. And the full access on Armando Borjas is really the way it's designed is intended to have cars only. It is a slower speed road, obviously a neighborhood road. So the applicant has designed the site accordingly as well. And it's also supported by their traffic study.
Okay, thank you for that. And there was also concern from the residents of light pollution spilling over into the neighboring parcels. And it's my understanding that we can't. That's per our code. You can't have light.
There's only a certain amount of candles permitted to spill over.
Okay.
We will have, though, for public safety, we do require street lighting, as you know. So that's also for public safety, but it's only permitted at certain candle grade.
Okay. Thank you. Last question there, and thank you for the answers. Will they be adding sidewalks surrounding this site?
They're required to add sidewalks just like any other new developments. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Just want to confirm. Thank you.
Any other questions for Gene?
The landscaping that we're going to put on the they're going to put on the property. Where were they getting the trees and the buffers? Where were they? Are they using any local? Oh,
I'm not sure. I can try to get an answer for you.
yeah,
I don't know if the applicant's
is the applicant here?
Anthony's here. So I'll defer that to the applicant. I'm not sure where their source is.
Oh, hi. We came in the building together. I could have asked you out there.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Anthony Ojuku. I'm with Bowman Consulting, representing the applicant. In terms of the landscaping, our job was to design the landscaping to meet code. The owner and the contractor will be responsible for who they decide to go ahead with providing the landscaping on the site. But if there's any recommendations that you would like us to provide to the owner, we can add that in as something that we can go with.
I just want to make sure that they're all Florida friendly trees and buffers and whatever, that they're for Florida.
Yes, the landscape plan all adhere to the City of Apopka building code.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Supervisor Dr. O of the Orange Soil and Water Conservation District. I looked over the landscaping and it looks better than most that we get. It has a lot of plants and preserved a lot of trees and has a lot of new trees added. What I suggest with landscaping companies, and Commissioner Velazquez brought it up, is sticking to the state code and now the city code that after it was added is the Florida friendly and compatible plants, and then getting rid of as much grass as possible. Even though this is a low water using grass, you still have to mow it. That takes energy and that takes labor. And going to ground cover. Ground cover doesn't take the mowing, doesn't take the water, doesn't after established, doesn't take fertilizer, and doesn't take chemicals if you get the right ones. So that would be a great advantage to the company in the long run for maintenance, etc., and makes it fun to walk on and look at because they bloom, etc. And they self-fertilize the ground because many of them are nitrogen fixating. And then in the pond areas, there are many pond trees that will absorb water, and they can absorb up to 40,000 gallons a year of water. And so adding in around the ponds and to ponds in landscaping designs of pond cypress and bald cypress and red maples and things like that grow vertically add color, beautiful color throughout the year, and then but can be in the ponds will add to the cooling effect of the business and reduce the cost of your electricity and cool the neighborhood, the roads that are there, and the cement and asphalt, and provide a more carbon sequestering and nutrients to the soil. So I think it's a wonderful design, but we can always do better in this city with landscaping. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. I'll tell you I'm excited about this one. Their store down in South Orlando is just amazing. It's basically like
It's a barn.
fruits and vegetables, but they buy it by the truckload, so their pricing is just really, really good. And so you'll be happy they came to town and with all the fresh vegetables. 'Cause they'll buy like a whole semi trailer load of strawberries and sell them for half the price of a grocery store because they've got them they're ripe and ready to go. But yeah, you'll enjoy it. So anyway, any other comments? Or not, look for a motion to approve the major development plan and construction site plan for Freshfield Farms
So
of Apopka.
moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
We're on to business item number 3, right, Mayor?
Well, I mean, we're going to pull. So, while you're here,
Yeah,
though,
well-
we can. Do you want to talk about? Can we do it the next meeting? We're going to.
Pool number 2.
Yeah. Do you want to re-advertise for next?
Well, we didn't have to advertise anything, but if we're ready with the and
Okay.
complete the review, we'll bring
Okay.
it back at the next
So
meeting.
let me get a motion to continue.
Can we just repeat why it was being pulled? Again, I'm still working
Yeah.
with legal counsel.
Yeah.
To review the contract. Okay. Okay.
So look for motion to continue the assignment of the Oakview oversized utility line reimbursement agreement to Land Sea Homes.
So
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
thank you.
Next up, authorize the execution of contracts for Core and Main LP and on site.
Thank you, Blanche Sherman, Finance Director. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The item before you is to authorize the execution of contracts with Core and Main LP and On-Site Performance, Inc. In regards to the Core and Main contract, the proposed contract with Core and Main is necessary to support the City of Apopka's current census water meter infrastructure and ensure seamless integration, maintenance, and upgrades. The contract source for this contract is the policy exemption for information technology, software, hardware. There is an exemption that exists in our current procurement policy that allows us to do it for equipment that we already own and utilize, which removes the requirement for a formal competitive procurement process. We do currently have a piggyback contract with advanced metering infrastructure systems with Coremain. However, some of the items within that contract have become obsolete. So in conjunction with this contract directly with Coremain and that piggyback, we will continue to use Coremain. In regards to on-site performance, we did receive a grant from FDEP for a pilot program in the amount of $75,000. The performance phosphorus removal demonstration, that's what it's called, is to evaluate the phosphorus removal capabilities on the existing units that we have out there in Wekiva Glen. So again, they're giving us $75,000 to perform a pilot to see if we can increase the nitrogen removal by removing the phosphorus. That's the best I can do to explain that.
Any questions for Blanche?
Yes. Did we determine how they're going to select which ones they're going to do?
It's only one. That's 70. Yes.
75,000 for one?
I said, how many? One.
Yeah. One.
Which then leads to how do you actually have a good track, because it's waste that we're talking about. So it depends how a family is. Is it a single person? Is it a couple? Is it a family? So there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot to I guess
Somebody needs to
think
turn
about.
that mic
Yeah,
on.
it was me.
Glenn is coming up to help with that.
Yeah, the question, like I say, I know in your meeting Tuesday, I did,
Talking to the mic.
talking the mic. Can you hear me now? All right. Commissioner Nesta, when we spoke Tuesday, I did check with Major on that. And again, as far as I know, it's just the one. And again, on-site did select who they wanted, one of the residents out there to use it. And the 75,000 is just for the pilot test for the one. So.
But I think they're doing some other pilots in Lake County, or were we the only pilot?
I'm not sure of Lake County, but I know that far as for us.
Right. No, I know
Yeah,
that, but I didn't
yeah,
know
I
if they
think there
had.
is. I think you are correct. There is some, but I can double check to reiterate or to make sure on that. Get
And
that
that
answer
was
to you.
to remove the phosphorus.
Phosphorus, yeah, it's a pilot test to see how effective the system can be removing phosphorus. So,
And so if the pilot results in positive where they
mhm.
feel it's going to work, how are they going to are they going to retrofit the new septic tanks that they
Again,
put
once they
in?
have that pilot test, so again, DEP will have to they'll have to get approval from DEP to move forward with it based on the results that they're seeing, if it's effective in removing the phosphorus, and go from there.
And so is on-site going to take on the expense for it, or is it going to come back to the city for the retrofit for their septic tanks?
But I don't know when maybe when we get to that point, that
Yeah.
discussion I have, I'm not sure to have that
Okay.
answer right now, how that will
Okay.
go. So,
Any other
Yeah, are
questions?
we able to get an update? And we discussed this yesterday, just to get kind of an update on where our on-site program is, because I thought at one point, I don't have the exact number, we were trying to get to like 130 in there, and that could be a wrong number.
yeah.
And where are we at now? When does that expire? I know there was funds, if we didn't expend it by X date, we had to give them back. So where are we at with all that?
Yeah, they extended that for us, but we just on the Weekover Glen subdivision only, we got 70 already. We got 13 more that we're going to be installing, and I think the goal was to get to, was it 90?
I think
90,
90,
99
yeah.
or 90?
I think it was 90.
Yeah.
So when does that extend to? Because
They actually extended it. We thought it was just going to be a few months, but they actually went ahead and extended it. I don't know if you know, a year.
Yeah. 1 year.
Yeah.
to expire when?
Yeah. Say it again.
When does it expire?
Oh goodness.
I don't
Because
need
it was
exact data.
supposed to,
I
it
think
was
it's
supposed
It
to
was
January.
just
expire.
extended a month ago, so I'm going to say
Okay, so
March, and then if we requested another extension, if you're saying that they granted it,
they granted
then
it
it will come
another
here
year.
for March 2026,
Yeah.
27.
okay. And now, are we trying to go out into any other neighborhoods to do this? Or are we only focusing on?
Only focusing on Weekover Glen right now.
Okay, so there's no other neighborhoods that have been contacted or approached with this in any capacity.
Well, I don't know. I know we had some, or I think Major had some discussion with the Rock Springs.
No. We looked at bluegrass,
Bluegrass Estates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
but no, we had no takers, and we really want to focus on Weekover Glen because they're the closest to the spring, so it makes the most sense. And if we can put them all there, that would make most sense for everybody to have them, all 90 of them.
And I think the thing we discussed too, you said, why would everybody not want to buy into it? It's the same old reason. Why if I have a septic, not everybody's want to be as environmental people like we care about the environment. And if you have a septic and it's working fine, and you tell me, hey, there's going to be a little charges, probably not going to want to do it.
So yeah, you made the point that hey, there's some costs associated with it, so I can understand that as well. Back to the actual what we're approving here today, and Commissioner Velasquez had asked us, I guess, what's the goal of this pilot program? And how long does it run? So once, let's say it's 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, maybe it's a month. What's happening with that then?
I think the goal was for on-site to say, we know that it's really effective on nitrogen. We want to see if it's effective, or they want to see if it's effective in removing phosphorus. So that's the whole reason for doing the pilot test, and then what are the results will be the results. And then again, it would have to go to DEP, the regulatory authority, to say, here's the results. And again, it would be from an outside independent lab, what the results are, and make a determination based on that. That's what we're looking, just to see if it is effective.
FDEP is okay that it's just one house?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Blanche or for Glenn? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Real quick, at the debate last night, there was a question posed that if we lose property taxes, how will we replace that money? And it was very interesting, some of the answers that we got, which we didn't get any answers, but from one candidate. But I'm looking at this process right here, just sit back, trying to fit in where get in where I fit in at, and I'm looking at the whole process. And the questions and the answer that's being given, it's like it's not really thought out. We don't have anybody out there in the expertise in that field that where we don't have to do it as a pilot program, and then we're only using one entity. And so, if I had to answer that question, the first thing I would do, you have to know where you're at in order to get where you're going. If anybody call you and say, "Hey, can you come meet me?" The first thing you got to know where you at, because I can't tell you how to get to me if I don't know where you're at. And so, the first thing the city needs to do is to have that forensic audit, so they'll know where they at in all their expenses, in all their financial endeavors. That way, you'll know what need to be cut, what don't need to be cut, and how to move smartly in the future. And you'll know where you're wasting all your money at. But I heard somebody say, "Hey, I welcome that," twice, and still shut it down. For the young people that are here in the audience, it's important that you do your critical thinking. And it's important that you go back and you watch these city council meetings, so you'll know what's being done with your tax dollars when you get ready to grow up and become a contributing member of society and raising your own family. So I'm glad that you're here. And I want to extend one more courtesy to you. You all stood up proudly and you pledged one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I want you to use your critical thinking and what's going on in the world today. If that's a true fact, then you don't, it shouldn't bother your moral conscience. But if you know it's not a true fact, you need to do something to make a change. And when we come up here and we presenting these things, when you do a presentation to anybody sitting in the audience, it should be crystal clear why you are moving in that direction. And we shouldn't have to have questions and come to you with questions that you should already be known vetted. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve the execution of contracts with Core and Main LP and On-Site Performance Inc.
So move.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, city investment portfolio update.
Thank you, Mayor.
Blanche?
Tonight, I'm requesting acceptance of the portfolio update and authorization to proceed with the investment policy revisions to incorporate the cemetery funds. On December 6, 2023, City Council adopted Resolution 2023-40, amending and restating the city's investment policy to comply with state statute. The purpose of the investment policy is to set forth the investment objectives and parameters for management of public funds of the city of Apopka. Mr. Glenn Scott with Morgan Stanley and Tricia, I apologize, is here tonight to present to you the updated portfolio and the proposed language to be incorporated in the investment policy.
I think Blanche went to policy first. Oh, good.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for inviting us here today to discuss the investment portfolio that Morgan Stanley manages, and as well as an update with the U.S. economy and the markets. Today, I will begin with the portfolio characteristics summary is in the top left corner. The city's cash investments are $127 million. You have $31 million in money market funds and approximately $70 million in fixed income securities. The portfolio's duration is a little under 2 years at 1.7. And the yield of the portfolio as of December 31st was 3.859%. Your security breakout is to the right. Your demand deposits are approximately 56% of your portfolio. That is your bank accounts, Seacoast and Synovus. Your U.S. government securities are 28% of the portfolio. Your local government investment pool, which is in the SBA, is 12.57%. Your corporate securities are just above 2%. And the money market fund, which is used as a sweep vehicle for interest and securities that mature at the end of December, was about 1%. This is a list of the current investments for this city. As of December 31st, the city's net unrealized gain is $692,000. The interest on the local government investment pool SBA ended the year at 3.99%. Today that is down to 3.88%. Your Seacoast Bank Money Market Fund, or the bank account, currently is at the end of December was 2.9%, and Synovus was at 3.79%. Morgan Stanley runs daily compliance on the city's portfolio, and it was compliant to the investment policy every day during the fourth quarter of 2025. Now I will turn it over to Glenn for an update on the markets.
All right, I'll be quick here. We gave you a lot of material to start off the year, probably more than I'll talk about today, but if you have questions, it's there for reference, or if you want to go back and look at more detail, I'll kind of do high level. You have that backup material for you. This is just a quick graphic of interest rates. So the horizontal is term to maturity, so overnight out to 30 years on the right. The vertical is interest rates. The dashed kind of teal line is where we were a year ago in interest rates. This is the U.S. government treasury curve. And where we're at right now is that darker blue line. So you can see on the front end of the curve over on the left, the Fed has engaged in interest rate cuts and potentially some more this year. We think there'll be 2 more. But that's brought short-term interest rates down somewhat, but we're still quite a bit above where the neutral rate probably is, which is probably down closer to 2.5%. And then out longer, we have the problem of massive deficits and long-term concerns about inflationary risk from those deficits. We're at $39 trillion of debt. And you see that tidal wave in the numbers here. No matter how hard the Fed pushes down interest rates on the short end, the investment community, the markets, look at the 39 trillion, and we're adding 2.5 trillion to that every year, and say who's going to buy all these bonds and who's going to pay for them. And it just creates this upward pressure on long-term rates. And as we go through time, you'll see that move to the left. And the concern that we have, obviously, is mortgage rates are set off the 10-year. And so this is going to put more and more difficulty for younger people to be able to afford homes because mortgage rates are just going to have a hard time moving down. So that's the hidden tax of these deficits that we think we can kick off into the future forever. But, here we have all these young people here. They're the ones that are going to have to support that kind of debt. $39 trillion for the 100 million
Glenn,
people,
you need to speak.
100 million people that are, let's say, under 30. That's $390,000 on the top of each of you. So that's brutal. All right. Sorry about that. Real quickly, just looking off into the future, this is the 4 scenarios that Morgan Stanley sees as where the economy will be going in terms of GDP growth rates, labor markets, and inflation for the rest of the year. The base case over on the left is continued elevated inflation above the 2% target, but no recession, and the unemployment rate remaining in around that 4.5% range, which is all good. So this is strong soft landing, and the consensus is this is where we're heading. That probability of that scenario happening has been rising. We just had the new Fed chairman named, Ken Marsh, who came from Morgan Stanley. Um, I think that was a moderate choice. It was kind of surprisingly non-controversial. There was concerns that President Trump would nominate somebody that was extremely hawkish, meaning they would bring short-term interest rates down for political reasons to jack up the economy and the stock market going into the 26 elections. But he chose, I think, wisely to appoint somebody more moderate, should have no problem getting through Senate confirmation. And this is a person that's more balanced in terms of trying to fight inflation and keep full employment going. The other scenarios I won't spend too much time on. I think the one interesting one is the second one over, the productivity driven upside. This is the one to watch as we go through 2026 and the big theme of artificial intelligence and robotics starts coming into play. This is the scenario. This is the optimistic scenario potentially. I know there's a lot of concern about how automation and AI will affect jobs, but it's offset. This is the hard thing for people to grasp. It's offset by the potential of massive economic growth that will come out of this and increases in productivity. So it balances itself out, and this is probably the one scenario that could help us with that massive deficit if we get the economy really growing on a technologically driven future. Going off to the next one, I'll do these quick because these support the previous slides. This is just looking at GDP growth rates, and we can see that our forecast on the left has been revised up from the previous forecast last year for economic growth, both in 26 and 27. We see real GDP growth at or above 2%. So that's good that we're staying out of that recessionary risk. The playing off that, how does growth relate to job increases? This is where we're a little bit more concerned. If you look at, this is the graph on the right is the total number of jobs created per month in the U.S. economy, both private sector and government. The vertical is in hundreds of thousands. So that 100 is 100,000 jobs per month. 100,000 jobs a month is where we used to set as the benchmark for what the U.S. economy needed to create to absorb population growth and net immigration. This is where the immigration policies are really showing up. So we're seeing now sort of permanent cut in half of the number of jobs being created. And this is a combination of net de-immigration, net flows out of the country of working people, and the effects of automation and AI. So while the economy may be growing, job creation is not as robust as you would historically expect. Let's see, here's the inflation forecast. On the, again, inflation appears that it's going to be a little stickier. The target is to get us down to an inflation rate of 2% or less, and we're having problems getting it below 3%. Tariffs aren't helping. When the tariffs are implemented, that creates a one-time inflationary effect on the price of everything that's passed on to consumers. It doesn't elevate the inflation rate going forward, but it kicks inflation up and then holds it there permanently. And you can see the effects in that graph on the left where we differentiate tariff affected components of the economy versus the non-affected components. So if we take away the effects of tariffs, inflation does come down quite a bit. I won't go too much into the Fed policy thing because we got the new chairman, so I'll skip that over. This is the implied forwards. So this is the top graphic is the expectation for interest rates off into the future. This is through the end of 2027. And again, this is on the front end of the curve. So this is overnight interest rates. And you can see we have on the right-hand vertical a total of 2 cuts between now and the end of 2027. So that would take short-term interest rates down closer to 3%. How this affects your portfolio? Well, we started this whole program together a couple of years ago to diversify the portfolio from bank deposits and reliance on the SBA LGIP and build you a portfolio of term securities. and so that's performed very well. You saw that we had just under $700,000 of unrealized capital gains, resulting in the fact that those securities that we bought longer term are coming down in time and picking up value because they have interest rates as above the overnight interest rate. I think that's probably enough on that. Any questions on the economy going
Any
forward?
questions for Glenn?
No, thank you. This is very informative, and it's good to see that our money is getting put to good work for our taxpayers.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I'll switch over real quickly to the policy update. So you were granted approximately $188,000 of funds that were to act as an endowment, essentially to offset future needs for cemetery services here in the city. And the state legislature creates a statutory list of allowable securities to 218,415. Your investment policy conforms to that, and by doing so and by addressing certain specified elements in that statute, you're granted further expanded statutory authority to invest in all the things that we invest in with your portfolio. At the very end of that expanded list is a home rule power that kicks in and says basically you can also invest in anything else that you as fiduciaries deem appropriate for odd cases that might come up where there might be certain investment parameters that would be appropriate for dollars, such as these long-term reserve funds for the cemetery. You have authorized the drafting of new language to your investment policy that takes advantage of that home rule power, and you're allowing up to 50% of that to be invested in a low-fee, broad-based equity mutual fund. So you'll have 50% in stocks and 50% in short-term fixed income securities. So sort of a sharp ratio blended mix there that's appropriate for long-term capital appreciation. So you're using the powers granted to you by the legislature exactly as intended for these odd, hard to predict in statutory law things that might come up before a city. So that's the proposed language that goes into your investment policy, which will be have you legislatively adopted it yet? Have they adopted it? No, okay. Well, at some point here, you'll legislatively adopt that. And we will not, it doesn't fall under our parameters. The city can identify a low cost fund, VTI or something. They're widely available. It's not part of our specific contract. We're not compensated on it, but we're happy to help you draft this language. That's it for me. If there's any questions.
I just had a couple questions, and thank you for going through that. We have about 188,000 in there in this fund or bucket, we'll call it, and that's funded how?
20% of the proceeds that come out of the cemetery funds go into this perpetuatory.
Okay. So we can start backing into some numbers and start kind of forecasting where we can be at. Do we know approximately how many plots, or I guess we can kind of look into this, how many plots we have left to sell before we're fully sold out? Okay. Because then we can kind of back into, okay, what's our total income coming in for this fund? How much is going to be invested? Because from my understanding, our conversation yesterday, we need about $200,000 a year to run the cemetery.
Correct.
Forever. And that's going to grow over time, obviously, due to just raising costs and things of that nature. So we can back into a number and see if we can get there without costing the general fund money and let it be self-sufficient. So I think that would be beneficial as we start crafting this and formalizing the language, is really look into kind of those deep dive numbers and see, are we actually going to get there? Or do we need to maybe kick in out of reserves a little bit just to get the fund there so that long term, this will start paying out how we need it to and be self-sufficient?
Okay, we can do that analysis.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for Blanche or Glenn? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Thank you, Blanche. Yeah, this was one of my initiatives. I thought, as we're probably half full now, the cemetery. So at some point in the next 10 or 15 years, maybe quicker, because that we'll have, the cemetery be full, and yet the maintenance will still be the maintenance. So, right now we're spending, the cemetery plot dollars for maintenance, and this will give us the long-term benefits of being able to, when it's full and there's no cash coming in for additional burial plots, that it won't be a burden on the city. So that was the whole goal when I set this up, and I think it's we're starting to see the fruits of our work. So appreciate it, Blanche and Glenn. Thank you
No
for your
problem.
help on this. All right, nobody wants to anybody from public, then we will look for a motion to approve the
Acceptance of the,
city
yeah,
investment portfolio update and proposed policy changes to incorporate the cemetery.
correct.
And when will the policy change take effect for the cemetery?
I'm gonna bring it back. I'll try to get it back to the next meeting. I
Okay.
just got to get with legal and make sure they're comfortable with the language. It's just a resolution.
All right. So
Mhm.
so moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
And Mayor, before you go to the next item, I just want to ask, since you mentioned that we're going to be full within the next 10 years, what have you, do we have a plan once the cemetery is full? Will you purchase more land for another cemetery, or what's the game plan?
I guess that's something for us to. Well, at some point that'll be full. So yeah, we have the uh, the resident rate, we have the non-resident rate, but it
Right.
just seems like everybody comes in at the resident rate. They've got some way to get to the resident rate, but we're like the one new section we just opened up, where we used to park a lot for like the Memorial Day services. It's at least half full, maybe 2/3 full now. So it's going faster. So I think across Central Florida, you're seeing a lot of the cemeteries are filling up. So it's not a bad idea to start looking, see if there's some property that we could to purchase. But
Okay.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, ordinance number 3154.
Ordinance number 3154. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T transitional to RSF 1B residential single family large lot for property located at 550 West Lester Road, owned by Christopher Williams and Katrina Barrett, comprising of 3.05 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amir Hamza. I'm a planner one. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from transitional to residential single-family large lot, RSF-1B, for property located at 550 West Lester Road, which is between Vic Road to the west and North Rock Springs Road to the east. These are the vicinity and aerial mass of the 550 West Lester Road property. The total site area is 3.05 acres. The applicant is requesting the rezoning of the property to be able to build single-family homes on the property and to be consistent with the existing future land use, which is currently residential low suburban. As shown on these maps, the future land use is residential low suburban, and zoning is currently transitional and proposed to change to residential single family large lot RSF 1B. The Development Review Committee has recommended approval at the January 13, 2026 meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the change of zoning. The recommended motion is to accept first reading of ordinance number 3154 and hold it over for second reading and adoption on February 18, 2026.
Okay, any questions for Amir?
The goal of this is to match the zoning to the future land use, correct?
Correct.
And then the owner or applicant is wanting to do 6 to 7 units there.
Yeah, about the 6 or 7 units per se. I mean, the future land use, and the size of the property allows a maximum of 10 units on there, but the idea was 6 or 7 units. But that's a separate application under a
Sure.
constructive site plan. This is
Absolutely,
just
that's down the road. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just want to
yeah.
understand what the goal is there and what that's going to look like.
Exactly.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
And so currently there's just one residential home on this 3 acres, correct?
It's currently vacant to my knowledge, but like it's a 3.05 acres vacant, and the residential low suburban allows 3.5 units an acre, so it's 3 acres.
Any other questions from Amir? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? No. We'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3154 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2025-47.
Resolution 2025-47, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, adopting a non-ad valorem tax assessment rule for East Kelly Park Ridgebrook Street Lighting District, providing directions to the Finance Director for certification and transmission to the assessment roll to the Orange County Tax Collector, and providing for an effective date.
For the record, this is Amir Hamza, Planner 1. So this is a resolution to expand the East Kelly Park Street Lighting District to include the Ridgebrook subdivision. The Ridgebrook subdivision major development plan was previously approved by City Council under the previous name Plymouth Harbor. The project consists of 86 single-family detached lots and is located on the west side of Plymouth Sorrento Road, which is between West Poncan Road and West Leicester Road. The property has a future land use of residential low suburban, which allows 3.5 units an acre, and while the zoning is RSF-1B residential single family large lot. Access to the subdivision is from Plymouth Sorrento Road. So the recommended motion is to adopt resolution number 2025-47.
Any questions for Amir? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve Resolution 2025-47.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2026-07.
Resolution 2026-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, providing for a budget amendment.
Thank you, Susan. Blanche Sherman, Finance Director. Amendment number 3 before you, resolution number 2026-07. This amendment is related to the pension change that was recently made and approved by this council at our last meeting. The amount of the amendment is $273,630. That includes the increase in contributions for the employer. For the general fund, it's about 160. We do have some transfers that are going from the general fund to funds 101, 120, and fund 402. And fund 401 is sufficient enough to remove funds from reserve to support this effort. So the dollar amount of 273,630 is different than the 240,000 due to those transfers. But the actual amount is still 240.
Any questions for Blanche?
I had a question, and it's not specific to this, but to the pension fund itself. Where are we at with that kind of over-under payments that has been discussed for the pension?
That is a question that you probably have to address with the actuary. I don't have that information off the top
Well,
of my
we hired
head.
an attorney to look into it.
Okay, the over and under payment. I'm not, we did, I think the mayor may give you
I
an
was going to
update.
have that in the mayor's report. Happy to bring it up now if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Let's, yeah.
So anyway, spoke to Milton Collins. Matter of fact, this morning, he'll have a draft of a letter to go out to our consultant. He thinks there's, obviously there's some things wrong, and he wants to make sure he's got it right. So we'll have a draft probably next week, if not the following week, that we can take a look at. And then if we agree with the draft, then he'll send that letter on to Empower for their response. So far, they're not accepting any responsibility. He feels like there probably is, and so we'll wait to see what his final analysis. I know he's gotten public records from Susan and from Blanche, and so got the numbers, and so we should have some, and then our policies just to make sure everything's all our ducks in a row. And I don't even think he's talked to Cliff, but I mean at that point it's we'll get Cliff involved. So that's where we are with the pension.
And then it was referenced, and I'm sure it was just a misstatement last meeting, that we only paid like $600 for this attorney. It was closer to $7,600 for that attorney. So I just want to make sure that was, and that's not reimbursable from the pension at all. That's
It hadn't been discussed to be reimbursable yet.
We're paying from the city because theoretically there could be a conflict between the pension funds and the city. So that's the reason the city's paying for this and not the pension funds. They should align, but they might not. So that's the reason we decided to pay it out of the regular general fund.
Attorney Shepard, did you review that and confirm that could be an issue coming up?
Confirm that what could be an issue? The repayment?
No, not the repayment. The fact that we may need different legal counsel than
Oh,
what.
yeah, absolutely. That I know about, yes. And it's for exactly the reason the mayor said. You don't know where there's a conflict, particularly when you're starting out. You got to get into it and sort of peel back the layers, which is what I understand Mr. Collins has been doing.
And that's what you recommended us to do then?
I don't know that I recommended it, but it is exactly what happened. I don't remember one way or the other. It's been a couple of months. I might have. I'm not saying I didn't. I just don't remember.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Blanche? If not, anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lane. This is where I've been really on you guys for the last 3 years with regard to the budget process. As you can see from this and everything that's up there, it has to do with adjustment for retirement funding. And again, for all of you in the city, your workers appreciate the work you do. You deserve every nickel you earn and the pension plan as well. The concern is it was an afterthought. This should be part of the normal budget process. This budget amendment is made because it wasn't budgeted properly in the front end. In the 2026-2027 budget, we need to have a thorough survey of all our pension plans, our wages, benefit package, to ensure it's right so we don't have to make amendments like this. This is ridiculous. And then we're counting on the numbers from the fiduciary, who was 38.4% off, or a swing of anywhere from $165,000 to $595,000. This is crazy.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to adopt resolution 2026-07.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith. Second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution 2026-08.
Resolution 2026-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, establishing 2026 rate schedules pertaining to the City of Apopka water use charges and deposits, wastewater use charges and deposits, distributed wastewater treatment system uses and deposits, and reclaimed water rates and deposits, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Item before you is approval of resolution number 2026 08, establishing a rate reduction for services provided by water, wastewater, and reclaimed water utilities. On September 17th, City Council approved resolution number 2025-38, establishing a 15.5% rate increase for services provided by water, wastewater utilities for FY26 effective October 1st. During that discussion pertaining to the rate increase, the administration instructed city staff to review the Fund 401 utility operations provided in the FY26 adopted budget in an effort to improve revenues and identify operating efficiencies aimed at reducing the rate increase plan for the years FY26 to 2029. On November 18, 2025, City Council approved resolution number 2025-44, establishing an increase in the backflow replacement fees and water and wastewater reclaimed tap fees to better align with the operating costs associated with that equipment. In addition, included in that resolution was a surcharge for credit card payments received from our utility billing customers. On January 7th, 2026, the city also adopted Resolution 2025-45, establishing meter tampering fines to be imposed for any person who willfully or fraudulently, without the consent and authority of the city, tampers with a meter. The objective of the tampering fines was to create a deterrent. In addition, city staff have identified more operational efficiencies that will provide reductions in the plan for operating expenses in FY26 to FY29. Such operating efficiencies include reductions in overtime, the census metering system, other contractual services, and rentals and leases for Fund 401, utility operations. Utility operations staff continue to the meter replacement program, and we've added a new base station tower for increased meter reading coverage overall. Overall, in addition to the items that I just presented before you to help increase our revenue and improve efficiencies, the city staff worked with the utility rate consultant, Mr. Sean Ocasio, Raf Tillis. He's here today to do a presentation after I complete this overview to update the utility operations revenue projections FY25 based on the final amounts that we have for the year end as of September 30th, even though our audit is not final. Those are good, they're updated amounts, and the current revenue trends for October 2025 to December. Sean reviewed those amounts for FY25 and the revenue trends for October 2025 to December to determine if the trends would be sustainable. He concurred that they would be, and he incorporated it into the rate reduction in the rate study. As a result, the rates that we incorporated under the plan was 15.596, 15.5 for 26, 9% for FY27, 6% for 28, and 6% for 29. With the revised plan, it will be 10% going forward for 26, 6% for 27, 6% for 28, and 6% for 29. The adjusted increase of 10% is applied to the 25 rate, which resulted in an overall reduction of about 5%, and the rates are listed as exhibits in your staff report. The rate decrease would not affect the current excellent bond rating of AA2. So Resolution 2026-08 is before you with an effective date of February 3rd. So I have Mr. Sean Ocasio here. He'll give you a presentation of his analysis, and then our interim city administrator will give you another overview.
Good afternoon. For the record, Sean Ocasio, Raftalis Financial Consultants. I'm a senior consultant with the firm there, and heading up the update here that we were just talking about. So this presentation is an update to the rate study that was recently completed in October of 2025. And as Blanche mentioned, there's some good news here. Just a quick recap for the presentation, and it's a short one. Just a quick overview of the recently completed rate study, and then an overview of the alternative scenario analysis that we did, and then the summary findings and revised rate recommendations that Blanche mentioned. So as you recall, as a part of the recently completed rate study, it was a rather exhaustive review of your the finances of the utility system. We looked at your customer statistics, we looked at your growth projections, we looked at operating expenses, revenues, we looked at internal transfers, the capital plan, and so on. So we modeled out all of those items in the operation of your system for the forecast period. And some of the major items that were the cause of the significant rate increases were, again, the funding of the capital plan. You had a significant capital improvement program in order to upgrade and improve the system. That plan was about $180 million over the forecast period. So, some significant funding requirements there that you had. In addition to that, in order to fund that plan, there is also assumed usage of additional borrowing in order to finance some of those large projects. And those additional borrowings had an impact as well on the projected debt payments that you'd have on a forward-looking basis. So there was an increase in annual debt service payments. That was projected at about $8 million increase, going from your current level of about $5 million per year to about $13 million per year. So there was that increase there. And then the other component that was impacting your system, that is impacting the system, was the impacts of inflation on your operations. The cost of all of your normal operating items, whether it's electrical, chemical, cost of labor, and so on, as well as there were some additional positions in the plan that are planned to be funded as well. So you had all these different items, causing the need for those increases. The other thing as a part of that study is we were also looking at not only just the funding of those expenditure needs, the funding of your operations and your capital and transfers and debt and so on, but also making sure that you maintain certain financial health ratios and metrics. You have certain requirements as a part of your loan agreements that you have to maintain coverages at certain levels. You also want to maintain, solid liquidity over the forecast period, cash on hand. to handle any sort of contingency events, but also to have strong ratios, because if you're going to go out to borrow money, you want to make sure you have strong financial metrics so that you get a good credit rating and you get good terms for those loans. And then a part of that presentation from the prior rate study, also we had some comparables about the rates and how you compare to other municipalities and so on. And so So the prior rate path, as Blanche mentioned, there was a 15.5% increase for fiscal year 2026, followed by a 9% increase in 27, 6% in 28 and 29 thereafter. That's a cumulative rate increase of about 42% when you account for compounding year over year. And what I would note here is, again, this forecast of rate needs was based on the best information we had at the time as when we were doing the analysis for the rate study. So with that, as Blanche mentioned, since then there's been some initiatives on the city side with respect to updating the some of the miscellaneous fees, creation of some new charges there as an additional revenue source. There's also some improved billing information with respect to your ongoing normal utility rate revenues that we had accounted for. And then also there was the operating expenditure items that were revised for certain efficiencies, so certain costs that could be cut in the forecast period. So with that in mind, the city reached back out to us to update our financial projections to account for those, efficiencies on the cost side, improvements in the revenues, improvements in the miscellaneous revenues, and so on, and update the forecast in order to see what potential benefit and relief there could be to the previously adopted rate increases. As a part of that, just to go into those, like Blanche mentioned, there's the improvement on the rate revenue forecast that we had, based on revised billing information that we were provided. There was an increase in ongoing rate revenues about $2.1 million compared to what was projected for 2025. So that's a significant benefit there. There's the increases in other revenues associated with tap fees, backflow fees, credit card fees, and so on. That's an increase in your revenues of about approximately projected at 130,000, 134,000 per year. And then also there was the line item adjustments to the budget, like Blanche mentioned. There's the adjustments to overtime, the adjustment to some other items. That was a reduction in operating costs, projected about 900,000 when you layer them all together over the forecast period. So all those items added together is about $3.1 million per year in net benefit to the system in the form of increased revenues and also decreased expenses. So that increase in your margins provides a benefit to everything. Now, one thing I'll also mention is, as a part of our update, again, we were looking for updated information. The other thing that was revised was there was some capital project costs that increased. You'll see that here on the slide, about essentially $40 million in additional project costs due to revised project cost estimates. Now, towards that end, the city is pursuing funding with the state revolving fund loan fund program, SRF program, and also pursuing principal forgiveness for some of those financings. And right now, SRF has initially committed to providing about $36.9 million in principal forgiveness associated with that $39.8 in additional projects. And actually, one thing I'll mention on the slide where it says 36.9, so there's a slight typo. It should be 36.7. So I do apologize for that there. So essentially, the net effect is you're increasing your projects by about $40 million, but you're also getting about $37 million in principal forgiveness, which means that the net impact is only about $3.1 million in additional capital costs. So if those projects are anticipated to be funded through the SRF program through debt, then that's an annual debt service payment of roughly between $200,000 and $300,000 per year. So there's that net increase in cost there, but it's completely consumed by the benefit that we talked about earlier, the $3.1 million in benefit associated with the increased revenue and the lower expenses. So effectively, it's that increase in cost there on the debt service side is negated, and there's still sufficient margin left over to reduce the rate projection, the rate needs. So with that said, as Blanche mentioned, the revised rate plan from the perspective of the 2025 rates would be an increase of 10% for 2026 as opposed to the 15.5% increase that was done. And then for 2027, instead of the 9% that was projected, it'd be an increase of 6%, followed by 6% increases thereafter. That's a cumulative increase in the bill of about 31% compared to the cumulative increase in the bill under the previous rate path of about 42% there. So it's about an 11% cumulative benefit. or reduction. In terms of how the average bill compares, if you remember some of the slides we had on the bill comparison, the average bill at 6,000 gallons was going to about $82 and almost 82.50 roughly. That would be lowered to about $78.50, maybe $79. So an average bill, based on the survey, you'd be right in line with your other neighbors, essentially, with that path adjustment. With this proposed rate trajectory, the rates would still be sufficient to meet your coverage requirements. They'd still be sufficient to meet all your liquidity targets that you have, and they would generate sufficient cash flow for all those items. So trying to roll through it pretty quickly. Based on those, again, that revised information that we were provided after the conclusion of the study, we were able to update, the analysis, find that there are some margins here that could allow for some rate relief for your customers. So we wanted to bring that forward. So it would be our recommendation to consider adopting the proposed revised rate program. Again, it'll still maintain all your cash flow targets. It'll maintain coverage requirements on your loan agreements, and you'll be building sufficient operating reserves for liquidity and for credit rating purposes.
Okay, questions for Sean or for Blanche? Radley. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Radley. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Just again to kind of recap what we've gone through here. At the time of the rate increase vote, the administration committed to doing multiple items to try and help this first quarter look in. We've been working to rectify the meter and FlexNet issues to try and get to that national standard of somewhere between 5 and 10%. The latest numbers for this past month have us at 10% estimated billings, which is 2,854 meters that we're still working towards. The next goal is to achieve 8% by the end of March 2026, which would be approximately 2,300 meters. So a lot of hard work and effort and dedication has been going on with our utility operations department and our utility billing department to continue working through those issues and getting those meters back up and running. Like we're here today we asked Reptilis to conduct a look-in after the first quarter of FY26 to see if a reduction rate could be recommended. We have installed a new base station in the Northwest service area, and that became active in December 2025. We prepared free increases for the new installs, which are the potable, sewer, and reclaimed. That was adopted in November. The meter tampering fine to discourage fraud and abuse was adopted at the January 7th council meeting. We have started the surcharge on the face-to-face credit card transactions in January. We're continually searching for operational and small capital budget efficiencies throughout the fiscal year, and we're currently trending above projected revenue and below projected expenditures. And we have implemented a new email notification process to try and capture those delinquent accounts prior to sending to collections. The first run of these emails was sent back in January 15th with an 8.33 success rate within the first 24-hour period, and we had emailed out to 168 accounts. So I just want to pass some appreciation on again to our utility operations teams and to our utility billing teams. Since our latest push in August to where we are today, we've made a lot of progress and couldn't have done it without them.
So any questions for either Blanche or Radley?
I've got a couple questions, and a lot that came up yesterday during my agenda review. One thing I'll say is that when we first went over increasing the rates, it was something that I did ask of staff to basically increase it. We don't want to go past 10%. We wanted 9.99%. That was back in September timeframe, and it was impossible. Then it had to be that 15% rate, no matter what, had to be that. Now we're back here where I originally had said. So I'm glad that we're doing that. I'm glad that we're going to be able to save the residents money. It's just what I'm concerned about is, are we basing this off of true data and factual data? So some of the emails that were forwarded to me less than 24 hours ago included, expenses that we're taking off of Fund 401. And that's inclusive of overtime. It's inclusive of the census metering system, other contractual services, training, and rental and leases for a vac truck. So I guess let's start at the top. Why are we reducing, or how are we reducing overtime?
We looked at our overtime trends, and basically, we're not using as much overtime as we have in the past. They're not out in the field as much as they were in the past during the meter replacement program. So we're able to reduce that overtime going forward. Again, this is one of the efforts to identify efficiencies in our operations.
I understand what the goal of this is, obviously to establish efficiencies, which is what I wanted September before we did this huge increase. The census metering system, that's still a cost to the city. We're just moving it to somewhere else, correct?
We had included additional cost in our budget when we brought in a contractor to help with the meter replacement program back in some October through now. So we're removing that cost. We no longer need that outside contractor going forward.
And we don't need the rental, the vac truck rental?
That's, yes, the department has confirmed that they don't need that going forward. Yes.
Do we have one?
Yes.
Got two.
Yes.
So then why were we budgeting one then for
I
rentals?
said going, that's in 27. That's probably one that starts in 27.
Okay. Interesting way to budget on that. The other one was, how are we establishing a trend, or like how do we have confidence in a trend of being able to continue the revenue that we currently are seeing just for one quarter? Because what we saw in October of 2025, about 3.3 million in revenues. November of 25, 2 million in revenues, so a reduction of 1.3 million. And the December of 25, revenue of 4 million, so it doubled. So I don't really see a trend in any capacity there. If anything, there's nothing there. And then I pulled October, November, December of 23, October, November, December of 24 to see if similar trends were going on there, where increases, big decreases, increases, and we're not seeing those same trends that's going, well, it's not a trend. What's going on in 25, Q1 of fiscal year 26. So how are you able to confidently establish a trend and say that we can duplicate this over the next 3 quarters?
So what we're looking at is what was reported for fiscal year 2025 as the basis for the revenue forecast. So in the original analysis, we had projected for 2025. Thinking. We had projected revenues of about 30, I want to say $34 million on a combined basis for utility rate revenues for the system. I believe 33.7 in my notes here, increasing to about 36.6 by the end of the forecast period. However, once the actual trial balance information was provided for the close of 2025, where we could see all 12 months and how 2025 was actually billed, what we found was that the revenues were actually that were collected were much higher than what were originally anticipated for 25. So the basis is coming more so from that adjustment on the history side for 2025, and then projecting off of that number into 26.
And we saw an increase of about $3.7 million between what we were estimating revenue and then what we were receiving. Is that an accurate number?
I believe in my numbers it was about 2 million and change.
The email,
The 3
email
million
that I got that was forwarded to you said 3.7 million. So that's the only reason I'm using that number. This was provided by from Mrs. Sherman Christmas Eve. I didn't even realize that.
Difference between what was factored in and what we're coming up with at a year.
And I don't need the exact number right now. I just want to make sure. The concern is that for sure I want to reduce rates. I want to get them to what we're actually going to need to charge the residents to cover our debt service and to service our residents properly. The problem is I want to make sure that we have the data that backs it properly as well, moving forward for years to come, and build confidence in our residents that we're doing what's best. The other question here, we're adding about, from one of the spreadsheets that was forwarded to me, like I said, less than 24 hours ago, it was about $6 million in additional debt for this, for all the CIP plan, including the difference between the state revolving fund loans.
That was, if you can remember, we had 19 million in forgiveness on one of the projects that I presented to you last council meeting, but the project actual cost is about 25 million. So that 6 million was factored in there, but we were able to offset that with some of the forgiveness overall. And that's why it netted down to the 3.1.
And I'd asked that, I guess, last week. So I do understand that concept. And I'd asked, is there anything that makes this non forgivable? Is there anything that would happen that this money would have to repay back? So, and there wasn't really an answer then. So I want to make sure it's in the schema of calculations to make sure we know, hey, that money could still have to be paid back, and then which could affect our credit rating, our debt service coverage ratio, things of that nature.
So it's factored in there now so that we, have the means to pay it back.
Do we have the means to pay that back?
With this rate reduction, that's what he's saying. That it's factored in there.
Okay. And then are we able to get a number? Do we have a number of approximately this? It's a 5% approximate decrease. Is there a reduced revenue amount? Like, is there a dollar amount attached to that 5%? What is that 5% valued at in revenue reduction from what we originally agreed to starting October 1 to now?
For that one, I'd have to calculate that for you to know the differential there.
Okay.
Well, figure it's 35 million something plus or minus, then minus 5 times 0.05, right? That's
Well, basically, the revenue numbers that he's given me with this rate reduction, they basically come out to be the same. Keep in mind, we'll have about 4 or 5 months at the 15.5%.
Right.
So the new revenue numbers are basically almost the same, a little bit of difference. I'll be bringing that back if I need to do some adjustments.
Okay. Hopefully you guys understand, and I asked Mrs. Sherman yesterday too, kind of put yourself in my shoes. Look at this as a resident. This looks strange that we're able to reduce something 33% in 4 months when we were pounding this as if it was definitely needed. So I'm not trying to berate by any means. I'm just trying to understand the numbers so I can articulate it properly to our residents as well, why this went up and then down 33% effectively in an increase. So again, it was something I'd asked for back in September to only increase 10%. So I'm happy that we're back here. The residents are definitely going to want it, need it. I'm glad that we're finally there after some advocacy. So thank you.
And I just want to just add that one of the things, just to be clear and just to make sure that we're not creating a false narrative, it was definitely, we did hear the residents, and what happened was we did let the residents know that we will look at how to make sure that we're listening to them. So you guys went back, staff, so thank you, staff, for going back, listen to the residents and finding ways to reduce the rates, because it was said and was promised to the residents that they would do that. And that's what you guys did. So we thank you for that.
Definitely. It's great to see this coming down.
Well, and to your point, I very much understand your perspective there, the change and everything. What I would say is just, like I mentioned in the presentation, when we're developing these forecasts, we're using the best information we have available to us at the time. And, the analysis is concluded slightly before when it becomes a matter of public presentation, because we're trying to prepare all those briefing documents. Essentially at some point we have to put our pencils down and then go with that item. But once we got this revised information on the efficiencies, on the revenue initiatives, on those other things, we wanted to make sure we could fold that in to provide a benefit to the picture there. So I do understand, but that's why that happened. And, I'll be honest, it's not often I get to actually come back and say, we can actually lower something compared to what it was before. So, it is actually kind of nice to be able to do that once.
Any other questions for Sean or for Blanche? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Sylvester Hall. Real quick, not to accuse anybody of doing anything, but there's an old saying, if it sounds like a duck, walk like a duck, act like. I want to hold this moment here because there's a lot of moments in my last 5 years of city council meeting where we have certain things and we all agree on it, and it's the truth at the moment. Then when it's come back and it's vetted, somehow it's really not the truth. So I'm not saying anybody's not telling the truth about anything. I'm reserving this moment till these figures and these numbers are vetted to make sure that we're moving forward in the right direction. Because when we did this originally, we told the residents, this is why we're doing it and this is what we needed. Now, if we come back in a short period of time and say, no, we didn't need this, we didn't need that. When you're analyzing numbers, numbers don't lie. Facts don't lie. What you put into is what you get out. If you put facts and you put down real data, it don't change in 4 months. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Nick, anybody else? Okay.
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lane. Mr. Casio, as part of your review, do you do an audit or look at preventative maintenance?
It's just part of the operating.
I raised the question because last year, I made a request for preventative maintenance schedule. And I know that fire and I know that police does because they wouldn't get certification otherwise. I know that fleet maintenance does because you can't get gas if you don't get the car in for regular duty. I kind of look at the old commercial where they showed the mechanic with his can of oil in his filter saying, "Pay me now," and then picture behind him, "Pay me later," with an engine overhaul. That's what we have. We don't have a preventative maintenance program, which is why some of this equipment goes. You look at staffing issues. Last year, 60 to 90 position vacancies. What's that number now? How many right now? Do you know, Radley? Okay. It's been historical that we have openings, which means you don't have staff filled. Guess what? You don't get the water meters fixed. You're going overtime in order to cover basic services. It all gets back to budgeting, having historical numbers, look at things. We didn't have a rate increase for a number of years, and now suddenly everyone screams because the last 2 years we had a rate increase because we didn't budget properly. Say, hey, look, our costs went up X. Why not pass it along now? No one would be objecting to 2, 3, 4, 5% each year because that's what everything goes up. But no, we wait, and all of a sudden it's 15%, then everyone gets their head out of joint. This is something that is controllable. It's controllable by a factual, fact-based, historical-based budget. And you look at that budget every month. And I will be looking at it every month. You'll be getting my request the 10th of every month. So I know what it is, and I will be reporting on staffing, and I will be reporting on where we stand with financially. This has got to be better, and you've got to do a better job. You control it. Make it happen.
Anybody else from the public? Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Any final comments? I've got just a couple of things I'd like to. So let me just start out with, appreciate Sean, I would say your unbiased opinion. Raf Tellis is well known, not only, here in Central Florida, but across the state for what you do. And when you came to do this, look at our numbers, Blanche didn't say anything, Radley didn't say anything, and I sure didn't tell you what we were looking for. We gave you the numbers, you put them into your magic little computer, and this is the number you came up with. So we appreciate that and what you've done, to help us have a plan that we can all depend on. So now to the staff, we went back to August and we knew we had a problem. We had to make a couple of high level staff transitions. I asked Radley Williams. I said, Radley, we need to take this on, and I put Radley in charge. And let me tell you, we had city administration, public services, utility billing, IT, the city attorney. All of us collectively were working for the last 6 months to get us to the point where we can be confident that the rate we've got now is adequate to meet the needs of our public services department, but also, we won't have to come back next year and raise the rates. We're even going to reduce rates next year by 3% additional. So I can't tell you how proud I am of the staff from all these departments that have come together. Not always easy, and I won't say it was pretty. There was times that we were bashing heads, but at the end of the day, couldn't be more proud of the staff that we have here at Apopka. That we knew that we had a problem, and everybody stepped up, made a difference, and here we are today. And also like to thank the 4 commissioners that believed that we could make it happen. Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Velasquez, and Commissioner Anderson. We said we would go in and we'd work hard to get the rate down, and we've done it. So I appreciate everybody who's been a part of this. And so with that, look for a motion to approve resolution.
Mayor, if you don't mind, let me make one clarifying statement.
That we are increasing it next year. Yeah, we are doing an increase next year.
It's not a 9%, it's a 6% increase. Yeah.
It's still an increase, though. Yeah. And in this email that Mr. Sherman had said, I know you said that there was no involvement with Raf Tellis, but it says, in addition, you will be updating the study to incorporate the information requested by the mayor. So in this email dated December 24th, 2025, there was some involvement. So I think that was a mischaracterization there. But
and that information is more or less the discussion about we were coming back.
Okay.
Okay, looking for a
So
motion.
moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, City Council reports. Commissioner Nesta, why don't you get us started?
Absolutely. If we can, I don't know who's running with this on staff. Just a brief update on the Kelly Park Road widening.
Can we bring that next?
Well, who's running point on that on staff?
Well, it would be really be Dale Smith. So Dale Smith is running.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Nesta, Vladimir Simonovsky. I'm sorry I didn't catch the name of the road. Was
Kelly Park. The Kelly Park widening.
Kelly Park. Okay, yes. So the
I
design.
don't need super details, just kind of timelines and where we're at.
Yeah. We are about 3 to 4 weeks away from finalizing the design. Actually, the design was pretty much done. We had some minor changes at the last moment, and we're currently working on that with the three pioneers and the designer, which is Paul and Bennett, who was working on that for the last year and a half. And we should be starting construction soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's all I need. Thank you so much for that. And then just my consistent office hours reminder that I do office hours every Thursday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Anybody can just walk in. You don't have to have an appointment. Feel free to make an appointment, but come in, talk about anything and everything you'd like. Again, I'll be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. tomorrow. And again, I'm always open. I can meet anywhere. If you're not comfortable meeting here, I can meet elsewhere. And for those that need to hear it, there's no need for any anonymous letters and games of that nature. Just come meet with me. I'll talk to you about anything. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
I just want to say thanks to the churches and the volunteers that stepped up during the cold nights and provided the services for those unhoused in the warming centers, and to Miss Street and others that have really put forth a great effort to make sure that our unhoused are taken care of. They're a very vital part of our community, and we care about them as well. And so we'll be doing the same thing as the weather continues to get cold. You have my number. Whatever I can do, I'm here to help. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Velasquez.
Yeah, just want to add to the cold centers. I was approached by one of the volunteers that did work at the Methodist church. They had some issues there with some of, I think it was one or two of the unhoused. And what they asked was, is it possible to have someone that can volunteer, that can handle when one of them kind of is starts to act irrational, and they found that that was a challenge for them because their volunteers are not equipped to handle when
Yeah.
when one of them becomes irrational. And I understand that one of them had stuffed the toilet with their clothes and
That was the
flooded.
Methodist church, but
That
yeah,
was at
but
the
we had
Methodist church.
the police they were always within earshot. They didn't come inside. They would walk through, but they were always available at both one family and the Methodist church. So there was the volunteers were completely comfortable with the way it worked out.
Well, the volunteer who approached me had asked, is it possible to have someone there that can handle, and as far as an irrational.
We had, that's what I said. We had the police were
Yeah,
right
but
outside.
but that's police enforcement.
Mayor, I don't think it's law enforcement that we need. We need somebody who has
Like a
expertise in mental
mental
health.
Mental health.
Right,
Right.
mental
Somebody
health.
who has expertise
That's
in
what they
mental
were
health.
asking for.
Well, there's one lady we're talking about, and she shouldn't be on the street. She ought to be in a mental hospital. I mean, so let's just be honest. She has no business being out in public anywhere. So that's not police. That's not volunteers. It's just we probably, and I don't know how you commit her, but anyway, it's yeah, it was unfortunate, but yeah. I understand your concern, and we've just said she's not coming to any other shelters. We just eliminated her from coming.
Okay. So the other subject that I wanted to discuss was And I realized that I had approved the minutes
Okay.
5-0. Is there somewhere that I can
It's 4-0, but
four
yes.
4-1,
Four.
and only because there's a discussion regarding the last resolution that we had approved at the last council meeting, and I had written to our interim chief administrator on Friday. When I left here, no sooner than we left here almost at 11 o'clock at night, and I did get a text and I did get a call and I did get an email, and I have been approached for the last 2 weeks, and a social media post. I mean, I've had everything where everyone has asked me to reconsider my vote. And I did speak to our interim chief administrator. I did send him an email. According to our city attorney, it's not reconsider, it's rescind because the vote was taken. So at this point, I would like to rescind my initial vote on this. And the reason for it is that the public, and I have very strong support from different constituents, have all asked me to reconsider my vote. They do not want city tax funds to pay for anyone's, and that includes all of us, to pay upfront for legal fees.
So you're making a motion to rescind was it a resolution?
I can't remember how. I think it was a resolution that you all adopted
Right.
with a policy and also a
Right.
repayment agreement.
Okay.
And so the first motion is to rescind. That requires a second, and then a consideration, and then if there is a vote to rescind it, then that is done, and there's a question whether there'll be a subsequent, either this meeting or next meeting, to do something different.
So I want to, can I
Sure,
respond? So I want to respond.
absolutely.
I actually asked IT to put something up on the screen for me as well. So I want to first say that I know we have someone that said they've been coming for the past 3 to 5 years saying that integrity matters, morals matter, principles matter. What I'm about to bring up is in-house council corruption that has been going on, and it's going to take a lot for me to get through this because I'm so emotionally charged by this, and I'm so it's just a disgrace that the public kind of doesn't know some of the secret things that have been going on behind the public back in regards to attacks on the commissioners that is sitting on the dais. With that being said, so there's a few things. For me, okay. Okay, so it's going to be okay. Thank you. So, in regards to, and this is an interesting time that I'm going to bring up these different emails and stuff. See, I want to start with we'll start with this one first. Okay, hold on. So we're going to start with, let me go back. Go back. I'm sorry. Could you pull back up the first thing? So, in regards to this, so changing a vote should be grounded in new information, not reactionary pressure. I respect that every commissioner has the right to reflect on their vote. At the same time, our responsibility is to make decisions based on facts, law, and what is in the best interest of the entire community, not pressure from online hate groups. Leadership requires the courage to stand by informed decisions, even when they're unpopular. Okay.
Mhm.
So if what you see on the screen now is what, and unfortunately, I have been the person that has been attacked. The mayor as well has been attacked by these different online hate groups, and it does require a lot of pressure. It does require a lot of courage to be able to still stand for what's right, even when they're attacking you. So unfortunately, I did see these things. So one of the things that she's referencing, Commissioner Diane Vasquez is referencing, is one of these groups said online did a post, Christine Moore is the absolute no vote. And let me tell you why. Below is a text message I sent to Commissioner Diane Vasquez, who sold her soul to the devil by supporting Nadia Anderson when she voted to support and pay for Nadia Anderson's defense, which that didn't happen. But in reality, this is about supporting Christine Moore, who's probably is as guilty as Nadia Anderson is concerning her residency issue. Diane Vasquez lost me tonight, and I hope the citizens of Apopka wake the F up. Okay. So, in addition to that, this person that controls this online hate group that which we'll see later that different that there's another commissioner that's on this dais that actually feeds information, also supports his hate group, which we'll show a little bit later. It says to Diane, which is very, I mean, I actually saw this and actually started crying because my daughter actually saw it as well. You lost me today, and you are not going to be the focus of a lot of you now. I'm going to start back. You lost me today, and you are now going to be the focus of a lot of stuff I post on Facebook. How dare you? How dare you sell your soul to the devil and defend Nadia Anderson when you know damn well she's a effing guilty? You are a former police captain. You're nothing but a POS, Diane. Pull your damn head out of Christine's ass. You're going to be out of a job damn soon. Out of a job, a damn job. You retire. Just retire now. Do us all a favor and retire. All the respect I had for you went out the window tonight. Shame on you, Diane. Shame on you. And I'm telling you, the constituents are going to make you pay. You're blinded by Christine Moore. Do you think I'm stupid? And block me, I'll never speak to you again. So let me be very clear on this. I believe that the state and federal attorney generals need to investigate as to whether these hate social media groups pose a danger in inciting violence. In addition to that, we have to make sure that we're not allowing groups like this to bully us into changing our votes. When we vote on something, unless we receive any type of material facts, we should not allow groups like this. So I'm going to go past this. And while we're bringing this up, this is a great subject. We have another commissioner here that sits on the dais, and I want to be that by the name of Commissioner Nesta. Back in, and this is an email here where he back in his email address innesta22 at gmail.com, January 22nd, 2024 at 10:45 a.m. He received an email from another resident, Kelly Butcher, that stated, still have a few edits to make on this before the final complaint is done. But it should be ready this week to file. Really hope the city steps in and does the right thing because they're going to be on the hook for whoever money we have to spend out. Thank you, Kelly. So this is in regards to, and the subject is draft copy of a declaratory judgment, Apopka 2, right? So we then have the commissioner that is sitting on the dais, goes back and edit and assist this edit, because integrity matters, morals matter, right? Says, see attached notes within the PDF. Please do not share this doc with anyone or tell anyone that I assisted you in this effort. It is a shame that a sitting commissioner would conspire with the residents to try to draft a legal document to try to get someone removed off a ballot. Then he goes back and forth. It's in evidence, and you guys can actually go and see yourself and do a public record request. Number two, Kelly, I guess, sends something back to him. All number items have the proof attached. Then Commissioner Esther states, I cleaned up a little formatting and adjust a couple of words, otherwise looks good. And she responds and says, thank you. I'll be pulling and making copies of the documentation to put it, and we'll send a copy after filing to the mayor, attorney, everyone else. Commissioner Esther then says in there as well, please do not let anyone know I helped you with drafting these documents. Does not sound like a person of integrity, doesn't sound like a person of high moral character. So why should I, and just to be very clear, I've spent, he also, and I will also, and this is important because this is in regards to something that someone is going to, wants to listen to online hate groups and rescind their vote. In addition to that, Commissioner Nesta also, with this same person, assisted them in pointing out a complaint against my real estate license where I had to pay an attorney to fight it. It was dropped because it was no, findings. But so we should be protected from other commissioners. It's just not the public that, that has, hate in their heart. We have other commissioners that sit on this dais like their integrity matters, honesty matters, Transparency Matters, and they're the main ones that's sitting cowardly behind a desk and using these hate groups to push their narrative in their platform. And it's shameful. It's very shameful. And that's not what leadership looks like.
All right, so I just want to make a correction, and I respect what you did say, and I appreciate that you did read these things out loud. It wasn't an entire hate group, and I just want to say that the person who did send me that text that was very upsetting um, did actually reach out and apologize for that. Not that it makes it right or wrong, but that isn't the text that's making me rescind the request to rescind my vote. What's actually doing that is not the hate groups, not the ones, are really my supporters,
That's true.
friends that have asked me to reconsider my vote. And it wasn't about you because they said across the board. This is what I was told. Across the board, they did not feel that city taxpayer funds should pay for legal defense.
Well, that's the statutory is required. I mean, it
And they
happens
and
anyway.
and the
So,
reasoning for it is they said if if the commissioner, whether it's from a lawsuit or ethics complaint, if they're found not guilty, they can submit for the expense and be reimbursed without any problem. But they do not want, and this is a consensus, and I have some emails, and even yesterday at the debate, I was approached and they said to me, Commissioner Velasquez, we have always supported you, but we did not agree with you with the vote on the resolution, and we are asking you to reconsider that vote. So I've sat here for almost 10 years, and I don't think I've ever asked to have a vote rescinded. I have stood by all my votes. I have been, for many of my votes, not everyone agrees with them. I've had people come up here and kind of scold me about a vote. Um, but this one, I actually thought about it, and I felt, you know what, this was the first time that I actually felt unsure about the vote. It was the last thing we heard that evening, and it took me a while, but for 2 days, I had a lot of input from people who have supported me throughout my career here. And I felt it was important to say that I needed to reconsider my vote and ask to rescind it. And it has nothing to do with you. I'm sorry that this is all going on. You saw that even I can get subjected to a lot of anger, but it wasn't based on that text. It wasn't based on anything from the um, hate group because a lot of the posts that was on social media are from people who are not part of the hate group. They're regular, everyday people and friends.
well,
So,
what I've experienced and what I've seen, and I have a lot of data. I'm a data girl. I have a facts girl, but it's a lot of people that hide behind these hate groups. They just too cowardly to come out and put their name on it.
no, well, they have put their name
Well,
on
no,
it.
no, some of those names are part of the hate groups too. I mean, I have a whole bunch. I have like probably 100 pages of data with people that hid behind the hate group. They've sent messages to these people to display and this cowardly emails like this. And instead of, and then it's interesting is that when someone constantly talks about integrity, 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 but when it comes to integrity, the highest level of integrity, you cowardly hide behind someone that's on social media that has a history of attacking me. And honestly, this particular person here came to me, apologized, and came clean. And a lot of these different complaints came from Commissioner Nesta, who actually instigated these complaints.
Mm.
Documented. These are facts.
Well,
I'm a fact person.
yeah.
I knew what I heard about it, but until I received the actual facts, I couldn't put it out there. And I have more facts and evidence than this. Well, put your name on it. Do not be a coward and hide behind things. If this is what you believe, put your name on it and speak out about it. Okay.
All right. Anybody else want to weigh in? If not, look, Commissioner Velasquez is making a motion to rescind the attorney fee prepayment. Yeah. Advance on the attorney fees. Okay. Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Nay.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion fails 3-2.
Okay.
Okay.
In addition to that, so that ends that. So I pray and hope that, because that was part of my report. So I pray that everyone that's currently running for office, because there are some other people that's running for office now through the county that has started, with supporting these online hate groups and stuff. It's really important that you look at facts and to make sure that, and I know it's so unpopular a lot to stand up for what's right when you have a large sum of people online that is spreading hate. But true leadership is about, even if you're the only one in the room standing by yourself when something is right, that's what you do. It's not always popular. And I'm just going to leave it at that. With that being said, it was a blessing and a pleasure for me to. I saw that there was a need for different families and stuff with the cold weather. So I took it upon myself to invite the Apopka residents to come to the store and to pick out whatever jacket they wanted, and it was very successful. There were so many families that came, and even afterwards, I'm still receiving a lot of requests, and I'm still fulfilling. So that was definitely a blessing to be a blessing to these families. And if you know anyone that's in need, please definitely let me know. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bradley?
Nothing there.
Cliff?
Mayor, it's up to you guys, but if you'd like, I can give you an update on property tax reform. Would you like
Sure,
that today?
sure. And what about anything on 840?
No, I have nothing on 840, but I do have something on HJR 203, which is the one that cuts property taxes over 10 years.
Okay.
And alternative funding issues. So the bill that is advanced the furthest and seems to have the most traction is called HJR 203. It is a bill out of the House, and it proposes to up the homestead exemption from the current 50,000 to 100,000 on top of the 50, and an additional 100,000 every year for the next 10 years through 2037. So, for example, in year one, if it is in effect, the homestead exemption for homesteaded properties, it only applies to homesteaded properties, and it only applies to property tax, not school levied property tax, would be 150,000. So if you have a $350,000 house, you'd be paying taxes on a $200,000 house, and so on. The goal is by 2037, for houses that are under $1 million, there would be no property taxes by 2037. The obvious problem with that from a local government standpoint is, for those who may not be aware, local government is funded probably 98% by property taxes. Now, it's not all homesteaded properties, but property taxes, whether it's on business, on any kind of other property. But a significant portion of that in many communities is homesteaded, particularly bedroom communities. Apopka has more businesses than many bedroom communities. A good example of that would be Eatonville. Maitland has a whole west side of I-4 that has businesses and so forth. But for many communities that are small, literal bedroom communities, this would be devastating for their ability to function. And so it's important to understand, okay, if they are able to do this, what is the procedure? Well, the first thing is the legislature has to clear it both houses, and it could certainly change. Changes happen all the time. It could go down from 100,000 to 50,000, let's say, per year for the next 20 years instead of 100 for the next 10. Don't know. It then has to be signed by the governor in whatever version passes, if it passes. And there's no guarantee it will pass out of the House because both houses have to agree. Last year, one of the big issues on the table was the doing away with or getting rid of CRAs altogether. The House and Senate didn't agree, and that bill died. of course, the net effect of this will be if property tax goes in reform, all CRAs are funded by property tax only, and that means the end of CRAs one way or the other. So that's a big deal. The process, if it gets through both houses and gets on the governor's desk in some form or the other, he has said very clearly he intends to sign it. It's sort of his signature deal to get through. The mantra being, if you paid for your house, why should you have to keep paying for your house? I'm not going to get on that political bandwagon, but I simply say that since local government in particular, is funded, your police, your fire, your utilities, all the things that you expect from local government, fixing potholes in roads, that doesn't happen without those local property taxes. So the question is, what happens if the governor signs? It is a constitutional amendment as it is currently proposed. There are some measures that haven't gotten as much traction that would not require an amendment, but the big ones, like this one, would. And that requires a 60% vote of the voters at the ballot box. That would be on the ballot. It appears, if it were to work, in November. We will see. And then it's got to pass by 60%. That's not a guarantee. Why would I say that? Well, some people predicted the marijuana amendment would pass easily. It did not. Some people predicted the right to an abortion in Florida, which had been in the constitutional amendment vis-a-vis the right of privacy, would pass, even though it got over 50%. It did not get 60%. So there's no guarantee that it will pass. But if it does, the impacts on local government, it is not an overstatement to say, will be devastating. Now, what are the options to provide alternate funding? There are three that have been discussed, and a fourth one that has been discussed, but the governor has said he will not agree with. That one is increasing the sales tax. Why is it important to understand that? Because sales tax affects everything that everybody buys, all that consumers buy. And therefore, the people who will be most affected by an increase in sales tax are the people who can least afford it. Because we all buy groceries, we all buy gasoline, we all buy goods, and if you make a certain amount of money, those taxes don't bother you as much. But if you don't, they can be very, very difficult, and they are not a substitute for property tax. We will see if he sticks to his promise on that. The other three main ones that are being proposed are for real estate sales transactions. When you sell your house, a 5% fee to the government to support local government. But that's only when you sell your house. So that doesn't deal with the day-to-day expenses of a community. And that is a problem. I do not see how that solves anything. Maybe it's helpful, but it certainly won't solve the immediate problem. The second thing that's been discussed is the possibility of raising fees or taxes on renters. Well, rental properties. So if you're in an apartment, if you don't recognize this, your landlord or your owner of your apartment pays those taxes only because they charge it to you in rents. So if you're a renter thinking, I don't have to worry about any of this stuff, oh, yes, you do, because your rent is going up to pay those property taxes that will be on the rental properties as opposed to the homestead properties. So that's also true. And another thing that's been talked about is an offset, but only to certain smaller communities or rural communities from the general fund surplus. There's a significant surplus in state government. Don't ask me why, but they have one. And they're talking about to supplement certain smaller cities, rural cities, some of their difficulties in not having property tax revenues with some contributions from these funds. But obviously, there's no specifics on which communities, how much that would be, and so forth and so on. Critically important. If this goes through all the processes through the constitutional amendment process, and is not tied to a replacement form of income, which currently it is not, there is no answer for the shortfall. So I love to be upbeat on a Wednesday. That's all I got.
Thank you, Cliff, for that inspiring news. um, um, I think we ought to probably, Antoinette, if you would maybe just to give us some idea, maybe could you try to find out how many homesteaded properties and the values that we've got, just so we could, I don't know if that's, I would think that's something you could come up with, just so we got a number that would be helpful, maybe for the next council meeting, at least have an idea. Now, but Cliff, it hasn't even, there's no Senate
Not yet.
companion bill yet. So
And
that I know
again, that's what sort of happened with
yeah.
CRAs yesterday, because as between the two chambers, arguably the Senate is more rational than the House. That's arguable. And so that died. But this has been such a deal, and I've heard voices from the Senate side saying, "Oh, there's going to be something," but what it's going to actually finally be, don't know. And of course, it still has to pass the voters. The biggest problem with passing voters is, just like many things, if you only know what little you know is, hey, I'm going to pay less taxes, or in my case, I'm an older gentleman. I'm getting older still, and I have no kids in school. I'm going to get the same roads that everybody else gets. I'm going to get the same representation that everybody else. I'm not going to need any more soldiers anymore. Why would I want to pay any more taxes? So if you have an aging population, and Florida does, you have to look at the fact that there are people on fixed incomes and say, well, why wouldn't I vote to not pay more property taxes? So it is a very, I cannot promise you that it will pass, but I likewise would not bet against it for those reasons.
Yeah. Well, it would wipe out the small counties in the panhandle. It would just they'd have to fund them somehow because it yeah. But anyway, well, glad that we have reserves. At least we could weather the first or second year's worth of cuts. But yeah, it's to be determined. Okay, next up, couple of things. Boy, I had a great meeting. The Florida High Tech Agricultural Corridor discussion, which was really interesting over out at IFAS. We had NASA there, Space Florida there. We had Four Roots, which has got the farm out off of Princeton, and what a talking about having an ag tech cluster here in Apopka or in this. Yeah, I mean, really some really cool stuff that was really excited to be a part of that. And so um, obviously we'll have some more meetings about it, but they were looking at a couple of them that they were mentioning was the St. Louis cluster, and then there's a Moldova ag cluster as some kind of an example of what it could look like. So anyway, looking forward to some additional meetings. And answering that, I didn't know what it was about. So next time I would have had you there if I'd known that was where we were heading. So keep you abreast of that one as well. Okay, next up, ribbon cutting ceremony for the new drinking water storage tank out at the Northwest, which is right next to Fire Station 5. And really, really neat. Reached out to former Congresswoman Val Demings, and who's the one that got the $1 million from Washington. She's going to be there, right? Or pretty sure she's going to be there for that. So, that was 4 years ago where we got the money from D.C. and we were finally, coming to fruition with the ribbon cutting. Saturday Sounds this Saturday, February 7th, 5 to 7. The band is After 5, which is the band we had for New Year's Eve here on 5th Street. Okay, ready? Okay, awesome. So anyway, we're talking about warming centers, and I just took a couple of pictures of our volunteers. This is the first night at First Methodist. So I'm excited. They were really neat. They had a big group from Renewal Church that night, and they even had a Bible study there with the unhoused. And so it was really neat to see. That's the first time they've really gotten engaged with our with helping out. And so I think they were really honored to be a part of that. So really neat deal. And so next slide. Then this is the second night group. It was a bunch of different churches there, and the last slide I'll show you who was a part of the warming nights. And then the third one, this is from First Presbyterian / One Family Church, which was the first night we did it. So anyway, I want to last slide. I'd like a big, big, big thank you. I tell you what, our faith community is one of a kind, folks. I'm telling you, I am so honored to be a part of Apopka for the efforts that we put into bringing food, staying overnight, coming in, getting up early, and helping with breakfast. Just honored to be a part of this great city and our faith community. So here are some of the folks. I'm going to read them off. One Family Church, First Methodist Church. These are all people that volunteered. First Baptist Church, Pentecostals of Apopka, Calvary Church of the Nazarene, Philemon Ministries, New Hope Baptist Church, Salt, Just Like Mama's Restaurant, Naughty Lobster Restaurant, Hope of Apopka, First Presbyterian Church of Apopka, Renewal Church, Trinity Baptist Church, Cheryl Wiley, who made some amazing like sweet rolls, and Virginia, what an amazing woman, really running point for a lot of that. So we appreciate what you did, and Commissioner Nesta, and especially Nadia Anderson for all the coats that were donated. But we ought to be proud of our community these last 2 weeks for what we've done. So thank you all, and have a good evening.
Okay.